Rani is a prime suspect in a murder case due to which her husband, Rishu, is pretending he's not alive. Their love is tested when others show interest in them while they plan to run away. On a rainy night, Rani Kashyap runs towards the Agra police station. She begs the cops for help because she's afraid her husband will slay her. 2 months ago, there was a news flash about the Hathinkund barrage collapsing on the Yamuna River due to heavy rain. Crocodiles have entered Agra, along with floodwaters. Abhimanyu, a medical compounder, brings tomatoes for his patient, who is Rani's landlady. He is instantly smitten when he watches Rani walking down the stairs. She bumps into him and spills his tomatoes. She helps him assemble them but is distracted by a work call. Rani is a hair and makeup artist in a nearby parlor. She is frustrated about a competitor stealing her clients and runs out for work. Abhimanyu runs after her the entire way, since she forgot her mannequin head at home. Rani is impressed by how sweet he is, but gets called in for work. Abhimanyu is in love and waits outside her parlor for the whole day for a minute with her. When she finally notices him outside, he asks her out for a movie on Friday. Rani gets distracted by the shadow of her husband Rishu passing by. In the past, they had an arranged marriage, during which she cheated on him with his cousin Neil. When things turned ugly, Rani murdered Neil, and Rishu chopped off the hand next to Neil's body to pretend that he passed away in the fire. Rani and Rishu have done some crazy things for love. He has assumed the name Ravi for anonymity and carries a plastic arm. They yearn to be together someday, for which Rani secretly leaves cash for him. Rishu hands it over to a travel agent, Gudu, who promises to get him tickets for Thailand in 2 months. Meanwhile, Rishu teaches mathematics to students. He gets distracted by his landlady, Poonam. She keeps forcing him to have sex with her since she thinks his wife has passed away. He pretends to be sick, but Poonam is determined to come back for him. Rani secretly informs Rishu that he should come over that night. When Rishu thinks it'll be difficult, Rani is frustrated that they can't spend time. He is hopeful about starting over in Thailand once Gudu arranges for their passports. She teases him about resisting Poonam till then, while he teases her about Abhimanyu. On Friday evening, Abhimanyu buys all tickets for the show he's supposed to watch with Rani. That very night, Rishu turns up at Rani's place so they can make love. Abhimanyu keeps waiting outside the hall for hours. He arrives at Rani's place with tomatoes when she's working with her landlady. She feels bad for forgetting their date, but Abhimanyu is happy to try again next week. He doesn't mind waiting for her. While Rishu gets a good laugh, Rani feels bad for Abhimanyu. A thief steals Rani's bag, so Rishu runs after him. Rishu and the thief change their direction when they spot cops in the area. Rani also gets nervous when she notices Inspector Kishore from her past. Kishore turns up at Rani's place to return the purse she lost. He quotes Rani's favorite author, Dinesh Pandit, who writes thriller novels. He refers to a familiar plot where the protagonist chops off his hand to save the woman he loves. Rishu doesn't want Rani to worry about Kishore's threats because he doesn't have evidence against them in Neil's murder. Rishu and Ranu watch a movie sitting apart in the same hall. He suddenly disappears after a while, and Rani also notices Kishore in the same hall. Rishu slips out unnoticed and flushes his SIM card. For days, his phone remains unavailable. After a while, Rani finds a garbage truck parked outside her parlor for a long time. There's a romantic quote at the back from the author Pandit. She learns from the driver that a man paid him to stand there for an hour. Rani runs to her house to retrieve one of Pandit's novels. It mentions a similar situation, because of which Rani knows where she can find Rishu. She waits for Rishu's call at the nearest phone booth. He knows the cops are on their trail, and asks Rani to not be afraid when they question her. At the police station, Kishore wonders why she keeps talking to a man called Naitik Verma. Rani can't reveal that is Rishu's number with a different name. She claims Naitik is a love interest who turned out to be married. Kishore refuses to fall for her stories and frequent references to Pandit. Rani remembers that Pandit was also fired from his job at the police station 30 years ago. Since then, he has been writing crime stories where the police always lose. A senior cop, Mrityunjay Paswan, also known as Montu, joins them. He finds it weird that Pandit's novels are being published long after his demise. Montu explains to Rani that he's related to her. Neil and Rishu are his nephews, and Montu has even attended Rani and Rishu's wedding. He's taking over the case because Neil's disappearance is personal to him. He thinks it's very strange that Rani is living alone in Agra, long after Rishu passed away. This makes him suspect that Rishu is alive and helping her. Montu assures Rani that he's like a woodpecker who keeps investigating till he gets results. He asks her to leave with a warning that he'll keep an eye on her. Montu asks the inspector on duty to search for Rishu in the 2-kilometer area where Rani travels every day. The cops start asking around for Rishu with his photo. Rishu watches as Montu arrests Gudu from his office. Kishore arrives at Poonam's place with his team and shows her Rishu's photo. Poonam doesn't answer them, but blackmails Rishu so he would have sex with her sometime. Poonam doesn't reveal Rishu's hideout, which gives him a chance to turn up at Ronnie's place. They've lost all their money because of Gudu's arrest. Rishu also knows Montu will stop at nothing to find them. Rishu offers to surrender and take the blame for Neil's murder. Ronnie is sure they can figure something else out. She asks Rishu to trust her and meets Abhimanyu outside the hall. She asks him to marry her but clarifies that she can't love him. She wants to marry him out of convenience, and Abhimanyu has no issues with that. Rishu doesn't want his wife to marry again because he's afraid of a third person being involved. She invites him to her wedding in 3 days and hopes he turns up. When the wedding ceremonies begin, Montu is sure Rishu won't miss it for the world. Ronnie keeps looking around for Rishu and finally spots him with the band. On their first night, Ronnie doesn't let Abhimanyu get close to her and invites him for a drink instead. Abhimanyu hasn't heard of Pandit, so Ronnie remembers how even Rishu hadn't when they got married. Ronnie wonders if this marriage of convenience bothers him. Abhimanyu explains that he lost his parents when he was 7, and the rest of his family at the age of 20. He tried to take, but Ronnie stopped by his clinic that day. She has given him a new purpose, so he's not afraid of waiting for her. Rishu finds ways to meet Ronnie and turns up as a pizza delivery guy at her place. Abhimanyu is still madly in love and imagines sleeping with her. They keep playing board games because Abhimanyu believes this will help him gain points with her. A few days later, Poonam tries to force herself on Rishu again and kisses him. Ronnie spots them from a distance, so Rishu rushes into the house. Ronnie is frustrated that he's letting Poonam kiss him, but Rishu thinks her getting married is worse. Ronnie hates that their timing has always been wrong. Rishu reminds her that he chopped for her and doesn't mind becoming more of a criminal. Abhimanyu finds Ronnie getting drunk and blabbering about Poonam and Rishu. When she wakes up the next morning, Abhimanyu asks her to call Rishu. They all meet in a public place, where Abhimanyu suggests Rishu and Ronnie should escape Agra. He promises to take care of their passports and the cops. Abhimanyu claims he is satisfied watching Ronnie be happy with Rishu. He still hopes that Ronnie will get tired of Rishu one day and come back to him. Abhimanyu lets Rishu stay at his clinic before they leave for Thailand. He asks Rishu to only use the back door since he's locking the main one. Poonam finds Rishu at his hideout after following him there. Rishu kisses her passionately and asks her to wait for him for a month, till he sorts things out. When Abhimanyu gets lunch for Rishu, he can smell flowers and asks if a woman dropped by. Rishu explains that Poonam found him, but he convinced her to not reveal his location. Abhimanyu finds it funny that both Poonam and Ronnie are mad at Rishu. He jokes about Rishu settling for Poonam so he can have Ronnie to himself. Abhimanyu is about to leave when some dirt alerts him to the fact that another person dropped by there. Ronnie is worried about all the crocodiles in the area when she's out on a boat ride with Abhimanyu. At Rishu's hideout, Abhimanyu learns that Lalan dropped by. Lalan has told Rishu that he helped Abhimanyu acquire the snake that slayed his whole family. Abhimanyu admits to Ronnie that his uncle stole his dad's family business, so he massacred his whole family. He makes sure Ronnie knows that he's too sensitive to handle betrayal. Abhimanyu explains to Rishu that he kept the snake hungry for 4 days so the bite on his family would be deeper. Rishu gets scared and tries to escape, but Abhimanyu fights him for the door and locks him inside. Ronnie finally admits that if Rishu was not in the picture, she could have imagined a life with Abhimanyu. He brings her home to show her his huge collection of Pandit's books. He is proud that while she and Rishu used the plot of one of the novels for murder, he used the climax from Revenge of the Cobra to slay his family. When Abhimanyu saw Ronnie at the clinic for the first time, he noticed Pandit's book in her hands. That night, Ronnie runs to the police station and begs them to save her from her husband. She admits to Montu that she thinks Abhimanyu will murder Rishu if the cops don't stop him. Montu feels victorious and asks his team to find Ronnie's husbands. Kishore gets an emergency call while investigating. They bring Ronnie to a crime spot and ask her to identify the bodies. When she identifies Abhimanyu's suitcase, Kishore happily arrests her as the primary suspect in Poonam and Abhimanyu's murders. Inspector Meena is frustrated about Ronnie's multiple husbands when she can't even find one. That has to hurt. Montu asks Meena to ensure that Ronnie is kept in custody for a few extra days. He also gives Meena a stick to beat up Ronnie. Montu asks his team to spread the word about Ronnie getting tortured in jail. Rishu can't bear her pain and releases a video for the cops. He agrees to surrender himself in 3 days on the railway bridge if Ronnie walks towards him alone. While Montu surveys the area, everything seems too easy to Kishore. Montu is not worried because he thinks they can outsmart Rishu this time. He plans to send a team with Ronnie so they can capture them. He's sure the lovers won't jump into a river filled with crocodiles. Rishu gets spotted at the bridge, so Ronnie runs to him and hugs him. Montu asks his team to surround the bridge. A man steps forward and walks towards Ronnie and Rishu despite orders to stay put. It turns out that Abhimanyu is alive and wants his revenge from Ronnie and Rishu. He thinks Ronnie has betrayed him and threatens to shoot her. Rishu and Abhimanyu fight each other for the gun, but Ronnie soon snatches it. When someone disarms her, Ronnie almost falls into the river, but Rishu holds her hands. As the cops approach them, all three of them fall into the river. Montu knows there's more to the case and asks his team to search the area. They find Rishu's fake arm and some of Ronnie's clothes. Montu asks for recent footage from all areas that Ronnie, Rishu, and Abhimanyu visited in the last few days. During a meeting at the police station, Montu explains that Rishu, Ronnie, and Abhimanyu plotted to fake their passing to escape jail time. He knows that Lalan is a snake charmer who was blackmailing Abhimanyu after helping him massacre his family. He has found out that Lalan and Poonam were murdered that day. Abhimanyu placed some evidence near Lalan's body to make it look like he perished. Montu has also found videos of Rishu entering Abhimanyu's house a little after Ronnie and Abhimanyu returned home that night. He's sure the three of them planned something because Ronnie was seen running out of the house soon after. A while later, Rishu and Abhimanyu were seen riding out too. Montu, however, doesn't know their plan of surviving in a river filled with crocodiles. Montu's boss asks him to close the case file since it's getting too sensational for the media. Kishore is still sure the truth will come out one day. 6 months later, Ronnie remembers the day they all jumped into the river. Abhimanyu and Ronnie come out without Rishu that night. In the present, Ronnie is tired when Abhimanyu gets back from work. While teaching in a school, Ronnie finds a note in a child's book and looks confused. In Bihar, Montu gets a package with Dinesh Pandit's book about the crocodile's trap. Reading the plot helps him understand how Abhimanyu and Rishu laid a trap for them. 3 days before the incident on the bridge, they started feeding the crocodiles meat in larger quantities. The crocodiles start moving away from the bridge, helping them clear 12 kilometers of the area. Rishu wonders why Abhimanyu is helping them. Abhimanyu explains that he wants Ronnie to come to him willingly. Montu gets a note asking him to visit Deosar, Himachal Pradesh. Abhimanyu gets a similar note from Ronnie, asking him to meet at the Lover's Point in Deosar. Ronnie knows Abhimanyu betrayed her by intentionally ending Rishu in the river. Abhimanyu thinks what he did was fair, but Montu also turns up after Ronnie's invite. A few days before the bridge incident, Ronnie hits her head on the bed after Rishu finds her and Abhimanyu at the house. Abhimanyu suggests using the crocodile's trap to escape from the police. Rishu also convinces Ronnie to agree to this plan. Rishu plays along, but Ronnie remembers that she asked Abhimanyu to help Rishu out after they jumped into the river. Instead, Abhimanyu left Rishu to the sharks and came back to her. Abhimanyu doesn't regret ending Rishu for her and thinks she should understand that after slaying Neil. Ronnie is tired of Abhimanyu's games and decides to punish him by throwing her from the cliff. Montu asks his team to search the area and arrests Abhimanyu. When Abhimanyu learns that Ronnie's body cannot be found, he starts laughing. We learn that Rishu is alive and sent a secret message to meet Ronnie at the temple. When she jumps from the cliff, she gets out near a procession and is reunited with Rishu. Abhimanyu finds it funny that Rishu and Ronnie used his own trick of pretending to be lifeless with him. When Montu asks him to not take credit for Pandit's work, Abhimanyu admits that Pandit was his father.